I may call myself from the generation of '68. The world was in a turmoil, and that was a time with all the young people willing to change the world. There was so much happening around me politically, and as artists we were always there, out in the field, backing up the activities which were happening then, producing as much as we can to continue with the lutte, as the French say. And having an artistic expression which could speak about all and continuing to speak about them afterwards was very important for me. I do not like the expression being the storyteller, but I might say that I am a little bit of a storyteller. Throughout my works, I am an observer. I try to see whatever is related to human life. I try to see what is happening around me, and I would like to speak about them as an artist. I had no idea in life rather than being the artist. It starts like in the family when you're doing good paintings as a child, you're backed up. And mine was a family like that. Everybody was saying, oh yeah, this child is drawing fantastically. And then they pushed me into it, that's it. It was a challenge in a country like mine, where there were no possibilities for the artist by then to be the teacher, or otherwise, there was only one painting and sculpture exhibition where artists could sell some of their paintings to the state, and there was nothing else than that. So trying to be an artist or deciding to be an artist was a challenge then. But that never gave me another idea that I could be the other thing. It's a great span in my life that I have been doing art. And I cannot say that it is an art which has only one side, I use all the mediums according to my wish, according to what I want to do or what I wish to create, And I cannot put myself into categories like a painter or an installation artist or a video maker or whatever. Well, maybe my way of expressing myself was talking about things, I try to put forward what is related to me. I always use my own connotations, where I live, where I'm based, with my own story. Let's say not history, but of course history, but my own story, they all can turn into an artwork by me. During the time that I was attending the academy, there was so much happening around me politically. It started from Paris, and it was the union workers' uprisal in the first, but it was backed with the intellectuals, with the workers, and also with the students by the time. Students felt that uneasiness with their situations in their educational system, in the situation of their country, with their relationships with the world. So in this route, actually, we were affected as students in Turkey also. And I remember that we were out in the field working as action theaters, making posters. First, it began with this reaction against the educational system in our school. And then it ended with the occupation of our school. We stayed there for about 1 month. It was not a small game that the students were playing, you know. They were facing more suppression. And then we gave it up, but at the time everything was in turmoil in the country, and we had to face lots of harsh moments afterwards, you know. After being detained for a small time, I can say, depending on what my friends have suffered from, I came out with the idea of doing some paintings which really would remind me later in life what I have been through. I made some sketches, some paintings about the time that I have spent in prison, where 60 women and 15 children were living. You know, it was a tense time. It was somehow 60 meter squares or something like that, together with the garden. It was a stuffed position. Everything was very difficult. And also the children, facing the conditions of the children was very difficult. Afterwards, when I got out of prison, I had to keep the memory of this for the later years, because I believe that, you know, art sometimes can keep memory. I thought that it is a must that I should do them. I didn't want to put them in light and say that, you know, yeah, I have suffered, because there was so much going on around me. So I put them somewhere and they were there. And after years, after 40 years, someone found out about them and they brought it into light. So then I understood that it was a good deed that I have done about these memories. Afterwards, when I got out of prison, it was a harder life, actually. I got married, I had a child, and I had to gain my life. I was lucky to have a job in applied art school in Istanbul. I gave my thesis, which was about poster and painting, having made lots of posters for the actions, and then doing the painting afterwards. You know, that relationship was very interesting for me. But the real thing I felt that I'm continuing my career as an artist was a time, the beginning of 90s, where the doors were opened for the periphery artists, you know, the artists who were living in the periphery, not in the center. Because this discussion came in the beginning of 90s with the fall of the Berlin Wall, and also the changing of the regimes. This affected us very much. For example, my childhood has passed with this idea of being behind the Iron Curtain. Can you imagine? You know, these were the Iron Curtain I have never seen in my life, and was there or not, I do not know, but there was an Iron Curtain between Turkey and the other world. So these have changed. So that was an important time for all of us, probably from the periphery. Then it was possible to express yourself. I was totally interested in this flow of migration from the countryside to the big cities. Or we may say these migrations for Europe also, you know, after the Second World War, the need of workers who would just bring up the ruins of the world. That turmoil was in my sight again as an artist. In the moments of migrations, diasporas, changing of regimes and things like that, there is always a moment where Kitsch rises. The rural people, when they were moving towards the city, they were bringing in their own culture and facing with the city culture altogether. And this confrontation was so harsh that there had to be a passageway in between. And this passageway was very interesting for me because it was creating a hybrid culture for the new times, I may say. Well, this hybrid culture was neither the city culture nor the country culture. It was something in between. I was very interested to see this in the big cities. The poor people who were coming from the countryside, they were decorating their houses with those kitschy things. Something which really interested me, they were the carpets. On these carpets, there were a lot of images, and all those images were religious, otherwise brutal, or cinematographic, or, you know, sexy. Anything could be on them. But these were used for the inside of these of the houses of these newcomers, which were built very quickly for gaining a space in the city. So this was very interesting for me. I worked with this kitschy material for a while to depict this moment in the life of the cities. I was, from the beginning, very much interested in the Orientalist paintings. Edward Said once said, "The West only looks upon Orient through fragments." That was an interesting way to describe it. Yeah, and when you think over it, you understand very clearly what he's saying. Because when you look at the Orientalist paintings, you only see the beauty of a scene, beauty of a woman, or beauty of a group, or whatever there. But it is possible to enlarge this scene and make the fragment larger, and then you begin to see some things which the viewer doesn't want to see. So I said to myself, why not look upon the Orientalist painting through this way, you know, by creating fragments. And when I started to create these fragments, there I saw many things which I didn't see as a whole, you know. And these fragments gave me the very truth about the male gaze, which was there, you know. In a large scene, yeah, it is like, but when you go into it and when you take the fragment, it was rather interesting, you know. So what I did with this project was to focus on these small fragments in these Orientalist paintings. Actually, I have used lots of paintings, you know. There are Ingres, Renoir, Debat-Constant, Géron, and everyone you can imagine. And I use them in a way by mixing each other, repeating some images constantly and so on. So it became an outcome like this. So what you see here is me looking at the Western Orientalist look through fragments. I never have a direct way following the same idea. And I really like to use any medium for myself when I want to say something and when I want to express myself. I decided to give up teaching, which I never liked in my life, you know. And after that, I had to find some jobs for myself, and by then it was possible for me to work in the cinema field, contributing as an art director for the films. Seeing the cinema and the outcome and everything, and being so much in it, you know, with a friend of mine who was a writer, Firuzan, we decided that we were convinced that we could make a film of ourselves together, which would be easy for us if we have a good crew to work with. But it was so difficult because we couldn't calculate the situation with producers, you know, time, team, and so on. But we succeeded to have a film in the end. It was a story about the girl who was very fond of films. She was living in what can we say, in an imaginary world of cinema, films in her mind, you know. And in reality, it was a harsh life for her. The film really was a success because immediately it was shown in Cannes Film Festival, and then it continued with other festivals, and we have a classic in the Turkish cinema, a film which is made by two women. One is a writer and the other is an artist. With this difficulty of making this film, after that I said, you know, no, I would never do any other film. No videos, no film, I stop it here. Until we had this digital cameras and the digital image in 2000s, I said to myself, yeah, this is the time that you can return to my experience in cinema to do the video work. From my artist perspective, I believe that I try to put forward what is related to me. I believe it is very important because when I talk about myself, the point that I'm living in, and when I'm expressing myself in my works, I find common realities immediately. And I believe this is why my work is widely accepted, because when I talk about a square in my own city, it is possible for someone in Argentina or someone in Shanghai can perceive whatever it is in it and can appropriate themselves into it. I have never been alone when I made one work and put it in life to be shown and to be shared. They can all be perceived with very many people in very many ways. And this is the way that the works can have other lives in other places in the world. So the contemporary art really gave me a kind of possibility, a kind of relaxed relation with the world in such a way that I'm really very happy about this. You know, I never was alone with my work. There was always a sharing. You know, I really like it. I really like it.